Students, welcome back. Chapter 17. Hope again you, your family, all your friends are healthy and safe in these challenging times. So let's go through Chapter 17 quickly. Chapter 17 is on sourcing, supply chain management, all those wonderful things that go along with it. So as we look at the slide deck, pull it up online, go through it with me here in the tutorial. We'll try to make this as short as possible. So Chapter 17. Sourcing definition. It's deciding if a product, a part, a service should be insourced or outsourced from a firm. Basically, are you going to do it yourself or are you going to get an outside vendor to do it for you? What should be outsourced, onshore or offshore? We'll talk about that a little bit. We have already this semester. And how can we optimize our supply chain base? So purchasing definition is choosing suppliers, negotiating contracts, managing those supplier-buyer relationships, things that we've talked about through the semester already. Which suppliers should we be selected and how should we manage them are big questions and part of the whole challenge in supply chain. So as we go to slide number 4, the importance of sourcing. So let's talk about, you're going to source something from an outside vendor, firm A or firm B as in boy. The sales from both of those are exactly the same, $72,618, as you can see on slide number 4. The cost of goods sold from firm A is $51,278, but firm B is able to get a 5% savings on the cost of goods sold and bringing it down to $48,714. That's only 5%. What does it matter? Well, all the other costs stay the same. As we talk about those other costs, there's costs that go along with that outsourcing, including managing that supplier, incoming, receiving, inspection, paying bills. All of those wonderful things are part of the other costs. Pre-tax earnings, just by having a 5% savings, the pre-tax earnings from firm A are $4,716. Firm B, it's $7,280. The profit margin from that 5% reduction goes from 6.5% to 10.03%, or a 54% increase in profit by just having a 5% cost of goods savings. So something that simple can make a huge impact on your bottom line. So as we talk about slide number 5, the goals of sourcing are to access technology and innovation. Oftentimes by sourcing you can get different levels of technology that you couldn't get internally, decreasing total costs, minimizing risks, but you got to make sure that you're using social responsibility and ethical behavior. Remember the Nike days where they were having child factories in third world countries creating tennis shoes and paying them fractions of a penny to do work. One example of unethical type behavior. I want to make sure that what you're doing is ethical. Moving on then to slide number 6. There are advantages and disadvantages to outsourcing. Advantages, you can access new technology or changing technology. Disadvantages, because you're outsourcing, you could have supply chain disruptions. You don't have the same high level of control. Advantage, lower total cost. Disadvantage, possible quality or delivery failures. Again, you're losing that control. And sometimes if you can't see the quality, when you can walk out on your shop floor, when you're doing it internally, you can see quality almost directly. If it's on the other side of the world, it may take days, if not weeks, to find out what the quality is because you're waiting for incoming goods to take a look at. The advantages, less investment, you can free up resources by outsourcing. The disadvantages of risk of price increase. Again, you don't have the same level of control. Advantages, scale economies in the supplier. Disadvantages, lack of knowledge of the technology related, because you could lose touch with how those products are being made and lose that expertise and end up becoming even more reliant on those outsourcing partners. So let's go to slide number 7, total cost analysis. This is a table in your text. Outsourcing or insourcing are the two options you see on the slide deck. Purchase price. $7.50. This is from the outsourcing partner, meaning that you're going to pay $7.50 and you're going to get a completed good delivered to you. Okay? The transportation costs are not included in that delivery, so you're going to pay another 45 cents for delivery. You're going to have inventory carrying costs because you perhaps are going to have a different inventory level because your outsourced partner, you want to have a little extra stock or a little buffer, 30 additional cents. Administrative costs. Do not forget that outsourcing, you will have a slightly higher level of administration compared to bringing it in-house, typically. And so we're going to add another 12 cents. Your total cost per unit by outsourcing is $8.37. That's the total cost on your shelf, ready to sell to your customer, good quality product. So let's say we're going to do this internally instead. We have the same capabilities as this outsourcing vendor. Let's take a look at doing it inside. Now we're going to have direct labor, the people we are directly paying to do this inside of our factory, because they're our people. Now we have to pay them directly, $2.10. The materials, the raw goods that we're putting into this, that we're converting to make the finished goods, is another $1.40. The indirect labor, the overhead, the administrative costs, the accounting people, the engineering people, the managers, the people that are not directly hands-on the product but are important, supply chain to make things. All of those types of things. Indirect labor is another 75 cents per unit. Depreciation, because it's an internal product, we now have to add it to our books with depreciation of $1.33. Then in addition to the indirect labor of 75 cents, we're going to have overhead of $2.10. Overhead, what's overhead? The electricity to run the factory, the building that you're working in, insurance, taxes, heat, air conditioning, all of those wonderful things that are needed become part of overhead at $2.10. Now, insourcing, even with all of those different factors rolled up, it's $7.68 compared to $8.37 from that outsourced vendor. Now, in a face-to-face classroom, this is normally when I stop and I look at the class and I say, so what's the best choice? Typically, the students will, part of them will raise their hands and say, well, outsourcing. Some of them will say insourcing because it's cheaper at $7.68. So what's the answer? The answer is, it depends. Now, if cost of this good is the only issue, it's obviously cheaper for us to do it internally. But perhaps we don't have enough capability inside. Maybe we're super busy. Maybe we could use the resources that we would make this product on at $7.68. And we could move those resources to another product line that our outsourced partner couldn't make, and we make even more profit there. Our outsourced partner is making this other product, and we can have our cake and eat it too, is that old adage that we talk about. So it really, really depends on, you've got to take a look at the whole issue involved. Do we have capacity? Do we have the capabilities? Are there other things we could be doing with our personnel, our factory, our equipment and whatnot that we could make profit from both centers? It's a complicated decision, and you can't just look at one is $8.37 and one is $7.68. Look at the whole picture. Moving then on to slide number 8, offshoring, possible costs. Don't forget, as we talk about offshoring, and we've talked about this during the semester many times, it's not only the price you pay for that offshore good. What about the shipping and getting it in? What about carrying costs? Are there any tariffs or taxes that are involved? And don't forget, those tariffs and taxes can change. President Trump talking about steel tariffs. He changed the world of steel overnight by saying that. Perhaps you need to audit the supplier. If you remember back in supply chain management a couple chapters ago, in critical tier 1 suppliers, we audited them in our controlled industries that I was a part of in the past once a year. So if this is an auditor in Asia, that means once a year you're flying to Asia and you're auditing the supplier if they truly are a tier 1. What about negotiations, product support, evaluation, supplier selection, regulatory compliance, preparing and administrative contracts? There's a lot of different things that can be involved if you're offshoring. Moving on to slide number 9, the qualitative factors. Currency does change over time. Don't forget that as the US dollar either grows in value or deflates in value compared to other things, that set price that you have for that good, if it's a foreign produced good, typically there's going to be some factor rolled into that price that includes the currency exchange index. So if the dollar deflates in value compared to that foreign currency, you may end up paying even more US dollars for that product than what you had negotiated. What about the cost of quality, rework, warranty, and legal costs of failures? It's a little bit more difficult when they're offshore to have control of those things. Air freight to overcome delivery and quality problems. I can remember working at a company that I worked at where we spent more in air freight to get product in from Asia than we actually did from the product that we were getting. So keep that in mind. Wage inflation over time, lots of intellectual property. There's been a lot of discussion of, especially during the Trump administration here, of you going offshore with a product and they're stealing your trade secrets. You need to be cognizant of that. What about work stoppage or supply chain disruption? Don't forget the last one here on the time zone and language challenges. They may not speak fluent English. They are sleeping typically when we're awake, assuming we're on the other side of the world in Asia or Pacific Rim type countries, those types of things. They're sleeping when we're awake. When they're awake, we're sleeping. And I can tell you from managing global organizations in the past, it is quite a bit of a challenge. Moving on to slide number 10, supply chain base optimization. The spend analysis of buying what, from whom, and how much is a very complicated job. Good supply chain logistics people are worth their weight in gold. They're people that make their living doing this all the time. How many suppliers are we going to have? Too many, it becomes complex and difficult to control. Too few, we have risks of shortages, disruptions, stoppages, prices. Do I have single suppliers or multiple suppliers? In my past in regulated industries like med device, we always had multiple suppliers, dual sourcing at a minimum. We're cross-sourcing. We're having preferred suppliers. These are all the questions that you're going to need to answer as part of supply chain optimization. So that's a quick run through Chapter 17. We're getting close to the end of the semester. Again, I hope you're healthy and safe. Reach out anytime with questions, emails, whatever it happens to be. And stay tuned. Video on 18. I'm going to give you a video for the end of the semester and probably one last one on ethics. And we'll be close to being done. Take care. Miss you all. Bye now.